We have got to talk about General Motors and the issues that they are having with not only building vehicles, but building vehicles that are not going to have issues. My name is Ben Hardy, and this is basically just going to be an overview of what has been happening over the last little bit with General Motors and the vehicles that they have been producing. Before getting the video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Now this video is going to be a little bit different than these normal videos on the second channel. We're going to start things off by me showing you guys a real life example of a General Motors vehicle not working properly. And so we're going to go to that clip, and then after that we're going to get into the talking points. So let's get right into it. Okay, so we are on the interstate here with the AT4X. Now this truck has 2,147 miles. I do need to put a quick disclaimer. This is a very early production numbered truck. And so obviously there are going to be some quirks to be worked out, but obviously for example's sake within the video that we're making today, I got to show you guys, well, a GM vehicle not exactly working as it should. So you guys can see here with that little icon there with the cruise control, and notice I also have right next to the 65 miles an hour left of it, I have cruise control activated. Now if I try to set it, unavailable, can't use it. I talked to one of my buddies that works at a GMC dealership, and he said that this has been happening with the new body style trucks quite frequently. It's something to do with the sensors. And so, yeah, just thought I'd show you guys like a real world example of something on a GM vehicle not exactly working as it should. Now, although cruise control not performing properly is pretty annoying, it's not the end of the world. It just means that you have to drive the vehicle yourself until there is a fix. And like I said, it's probably just going to end up being a software update. And if you guys are wondering, it didn't put me in harm's way. Basically, I was just driving the truck and then cruise control is no longer available, and then I just had to go back to driving the truck like normal. So in my opinion, no big deal. And again, I'm guessing it's just gonna be something where that truck's gonna be taken down to a GMC dealership, and then it's gonna get some sort of software update, and then it's going to be off on its way with the cruise control functioning properly. I guess time will tell. But something that's a little bit more concerning to me is the fact that there is a lot of negativity with people that are currently owning newer GM products, and then also people that are currently selling newer GM products as well. It seems like both groups are pretty negative about the company in terms of the initial quality and then also just longer term reliability, right? I talked to several people today that basically sell new GM products, and I just kept hearing time and time again all of these disappointing things that are happening with the newer product, and also newer product getting pushed off as well. And it's kind of all coming together to be a pretty large issue. Now let's kind of break this up into several topics and then come to some sort of conclusion as to what is probably going to happen with General Motors in the short term and in the long term as well. So first off, if we go over the production issues, this is not something that's just affected General Motors. This is every single automaker because of all the supply chain issues, because of labor shortages, right? There's just so many issues right now with producing vehicles. It is extremely difficult, but it seems like some automakers are handling it better than others. And also, frankly, some automakers seem to just not have been hit as hard as other automakers. I think a great example is if you look at Stellantis, they seem like they're still pumping out a ton of cars, but then you compare that to General Motors, and General Motors is still pumping out cars, but it doesn't seem like they're pumping them out as quickly as Stellantis is. And I see that when I go to these different dealerships that represent the different brands. Like when I go to a Dodge Ram Jeep Chrysler dealership or an Alfa Romeo dealership or a Maserati dealership, they actually have like inventory on the ground, and like they have options to choose from. Now it's not like they're flooded with inventory, like they are nowhere near the inventory levels that they were in the past, but they have something. Whereas when I go to GMC dealers or Chevy dealers, they don't have nearly as much inventory. Now they've got a lot of orders on the books. They have a lot of people that want to order their product, but that, you know, those orders are not necessarily getting fulfilled. And so it's just kind of been a big issue with GM in terms of just producing vehicles over this last little bit, and it's definitely negatively affecting them. I know a lot of people personally that had GM products on order, and the wait just became so long that they just gave up and they went and ordered from another manufacturer. And so yeah, that's definitely the first problem that they're dealing with. The next thing is just initial quality. And again, this is not a GM specific thing. This has been affecting every single automaker. I'm going to be making a detailed video on this. But what I mean by initial quality is vehicles that are leaving the factory and having issues from the factory, not because of how they were engineered, but because of how they were actually assembled. And this has definitely, again, affected GM, but it's also affected a bunch of other automakers. And basically what I've been seeing is I've been seeing these vehicles have, some fit and finish issues, but like you guys saw with that Sierra, for example, at the beginning of the video, having certain tech bits just not work on the vehicles. And so there's definitely a lot that has to be fixed on that side of things. But again, it needs to be mentioned in this video that it's a big issue, and it has been going on for quite some time now, and it doesn't seem like it is getting any better, which is a little bit scary. But the next thing we need to talk about is engineering issues. And these are basically issues that are built into the vehicles. So no matter how well they are produced at the factory, they're potentially going to have issues down the road. A really good example is GM's new turbocharged 2.7 liter four-cylinder. It's a pretty crazy powertrain. It's got cylinder deactivation, it's turbocharged, and I mean, like, just those two things. Again, cylinder deactivation is just crazy. But again, there's a lot of technology with that powertrain, but then there's also been a lot of issues with that powertrain. They've been having lifter issues with the powertrain. They've been having carbon buildup with higher mileage versions of the 2.7, and basically people have just had to get new engines because the engines just blow. And so it's just not a good situation overall. And it's not because these people are, abusing their trucks, and it's not because they're doing the wrong thing. It's more like these issues have been inherently engineered into the powertrain. And this doesn't just affect the 2.7. There's other issues with GM's products, right? There's been a lot of issues with electronics. Now, again, that's plaguing a lot of automakers right now because there's a lot of new technology in vehicles. So I'm not just going to go and attack GM and say that they're doing something wrong that everyone else is doing right, because frankly, everyone is, again, having issues, it seems like, from an engineering perspective when it comes to electronics. But not only that, right, there's issues with their 6.2 V8, their 5.3 V8, those both have lifter issues. Their 3.0 Duramax, so I mean, that powertrain has been pretty reliable. But the point that I'm trying to make is it seems like there's all these issues that have been kind of like engineered into their product, and I'm not sure why it's happening. Another example, also Bolt EV, right? That's another vehicle that, like, I feel like it's been on stop sale for like over a year at this point, where they just can't sell them because of them trying to figure out how to make that car work without basically blowing up at this point. I'm being over dramatic. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is, again, there's all these issues that are inherently engineered into these vehicles, and I don't know what's going wrong. And I don't, frankly, have an answer, right? I'm not smart enough to know what GM has to do to fix these issues. I just know that there's an issue, and the issues have to be fixed. And I think that's why GM has kind of held back with releasing some of their product. If you notice with the new Hummer EV, for example, they basically sold just a few, and then they kind of like pulled back for a second. Obviously there's supply issues, and so that's also kind of slowing down production. But I think that they were waiting to see what was going to happen with the new Hummer EV and wait to see what issues would pop up so they can make sure that they have those issues fixed with the next batch. I've seen kind of like the same thing happen with the new Silverado and the new GMC Sierra as well. And I mean, look at the Chevy Corvette Z06. That was announced, I mean, not super long ago, but it was announced a decent amount. And I mean, I've even seen several pre-production cars out there. I went to the Chicago Auto Show. I saw a couple of pre-production cars. And so the car has been out for, technically, out from a, announcement standpoint for quite some time. And you still can't even order one at a Chevy dealership, frankly. And I think it's because there's just so many engineering hurdles that are coming up with those cars that they're just like, they fix one issue and then another one pops up and then another one pops up. And I think, again, it's because GM is at the cutting edge with certain technologies with vehicles. I mean, the Z06 is a great example, right? It has a crazy naturally aspirated engine that's going to be the highest horsepower naturally aspirated V8 like ever in a production car, which is awesome. And like, that's something that I love about GM is, again, they're on the cutting edge. But at the same time, being on the cutting edge means there's gonna be issues, and it seems like it's starting to bite GM in the butt a little bit. So let's pull everything together to form a conclusion. So like I said earlier, GM is suffering from supply chain issues just like every other automaker, but it seems like GM has been dealt an especially bad card. Now, I'm sure that some of that is their fault, but some of it is frankly just bad luck at the same time. And so Yeah, they're definitely struggling. And then on top of that, right, quality issues. And again, this isn't just a GM thing. I'm going to be making a video talking about post-COVID vehicle production because it is just so ugly. But yeah, GM is suffering from it just like a lot of other automakers in terms of the build quality on their vehicles. They're just not being produced at the same quality as what they were in the past. And it's not just the people at the GM factories putting all the pieces together. It's also the companies that they're sourcing materials and items from that are also not putting together their products in the best possible manner, right? It's not always GM's fault. It's some of it's these manufacturers that they're sourcing parts from. And again, people could ultimately say, well, that is GM's fault because they chose to source parts from them. And well, fair enough. And then finally, inherent engineering issues with the product. It seems like I don't know what's happening. Like I honestly don't know what's happening, but it seems like GM it's almost like they're purposefully engineering their vehicles to just have issues. I don't know if they're just shortcutting things to get product released as quickly as possible. I don't have an answer. All I know is that there's been so many recalls with GM's products, and there's been so many issues that cars have been delayed and all this other stuff because of inherent engineering issues. And so with all of that together, it's pushing a lot of people away from GM. If you look at the trucks, for example, there's a lot of people that are moving over to other truck brands because they just frankly don't feel like they can trust trucks from GM at this point to last the amount of time that they want them to last. And then on other product, same thing, basically same story. People just feel like they're losing trust in the brand. And so I don't think this is necessarily the end for General Motors. It's such a massive company with a lot of heritage, and there's a lot of really intelligent people working for General Motors that I'm sure are going to eventually figure out some sort of fix. It just depends on when they figure that out, and hopefully it's not too late. Again, I don't think this is going to be like a death sentence for GM. I think this is going to be a hiccup, and it's going to burn them for quite some time. There's going to be a lot of angry people that purchase vehicles at this particular time period that will have issues, but once they figure things out, I think they can, basically fix things and, fix their reputation. I think a really good example of that, frankly, and I know people are going to like crucify me for this, but I think a really good example is actually Land Rover. Land Rover does not have the best reputation for reliability, but guess what? Their newer product has actually exceeded expectations from a reliability standpoint. If you guys don't know, Land Rover has a better reliability ranking than Jeep. And I know that might not be saying much to most people, but the fact that Land Rover, with all of its crazy complicated technology, is now more reliable than Jeep, it's pretty crazy. They've come a long way, and it's definitely helping them slowly fix their reputation, and more people are wanting to go and buy product from them because of it. And so I think this is something that GM can eventually mend down the road, but in the short term at least, I think you're going to see a lot of people trading in GM products for other manufacturers, and a lot of people just canceling their orders and going to other manufacturers because, again, they either can't get the vehicle in a timely manner or they just don't trust the quality and reliability because of all the issues that have popped up. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this particular topic, and with that being said, I'll see all of you in the next video.